Okay, so as always, try to have a pencil and an eraser and paper for you to be able to do the drawings. But if you don't have an eraser, that's okay. So let's do a stress check. So in the chat at the bottom, there's a place for you to be able to type into the chat, type in how you're feeling between a 0 and a 10. Hopefully you're able to find that. It's at the bottom where it says chat. And then as you do that, I'll keep on. Okay, good. I see a 0. I see a 3. Make sure. Okay, good. 3. Oh, even better, Miss Ross.
Getting better.
Good. I'm glad. Hopefully, by the end of the day, you're just at a 1.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm just chilling.
Yeah. All right. So today we're gonna learn how to draw a penguin. We're gonna learn that simple shapes combined together can create more complex objects, and we're gonna add other elements to a drawing to create interest, tell a story, and detail. So as we're looking at this, before we even start, let's check our do now. This is what we were asked to do for do nows. So something I wanted to mention is that art isn't always a painting, okay? Because a lot of the time we think of art and we think of paintings, or we think of drawings. Art can also be sculptures. Art can be things made out of wood. It can be made out of plastic. It can be, honestly, art is kind of anything you want it to be in a way. If it has some other meaning besides what is obvious. So if we look at this picture, we see all these street lamps. This you can actually find at a museum called LACMA, which is in LA. It's off of, I want to say it's off of Wilshire and La Brea. And it's outside. It exists out there. You can go and take pictures with it. And it is, as Victor stated in the chat, it's a bunch of lamps, a bunch of lights, right? So what do you see in the art piece? You just see a lot of lamps, a lot of lights. And then for your second question, you would say, how does it make you feel? What do you think of it? Do you like it? I know this is different from what we've been looking at. We've been looking at art pieces like Mona Lisa, The Starry Night, but this one's different. So let me tell you a little bit about it. We're not gonna go too much into detail, but this is what they call a forest of city streetlights, because notice it kind of looks like a forest, like they were all trees. It's like a forest, but instead they use streetlights. This is called the Urban Light, it's called Urban Light, which was created by someone named Chris Burden. It's not a perfect grid, meaning they're not all placed super perfectly, even though it seems like it. Depending on where you stand, the lamps arrange themselves in different angles and arrays. There are a total of 202 cast iron lamps, okay? And these are in LA. So there's 202 of them. I didn't know it was that many. So the person who made this, he bought the first one at the Rose Bowl flea market, and then he started collecting them. And then it kind of became an obsession of his to collect them. And he started to paint them all the same color. So he painted them this neutral gray color in order to draw the eye to the different decorations on them. He saw that they were a symbol of a civilized and sophisticated city, and he felt like it was safe after dark and beautiful. All of the lights still work. So if you go to this, they're still on like this, and they're powered by solar energy. So they turn on by solar power. And then they're also turned on every night at dusk, and they're lit up until 10 p.m. At night, this guy, Chris Burden, says that his sculpture becomes transformed into a building with a roof of light, okay? So this is just a little bit about this artwork. Doing that same thing. All right, let's go to our next slide. We're gonna try to create this penguin. Louis, I know you haven't been here, so you haven't seen how my drawings look on this thing. They're not as great as this drawing here, but we're gonna do our best, okay? And notice that we have to place on top of an iceberg and, oops, and this means and, put him in a scene. Victor's gonna have to use, we're gonna have to use our knowledge from that last session where we drew an iceberg to be able to do this. But let's look at some vocabulary. So details are a part of a whole. They're a distinctive feature. There's something that make it seem that you can only see usually really close. Layers are something placed over another surface. So sometimes you might put a bunch of sweaters and you're putting a lot of layers. In drawings, you can also include layers. And then an overlap is when one thing lies over and partly covers something else. And we've talked about that word before. So let's get started. Let's start drawing. So first we're gonna start with an oval. So take your pencil and on your paper, let's draw an oval. Okay. And our next step will be to add a small circle that's slightly off to one side. So you don't want the circle to be right here, right above it. You want it to be a little bit on the side and not too far from the first oval, but not too close. So notice it's a circle. And I'm actually gonna decide to make mine a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase that. For our next step, we're gonna connect with thick curved necklines. Our fourth step is we're gonna add skinny oval flappers. So right on the sides, we wanna add the flappers. So we're gonna write our skinny oval flappers. And then they actually want you to erase the dotted line area. So you guys see this part right here? They want you to erase that. Mine, I can't erase that easily, so I'm just gonna go ahead and redraw that. Hello. Pause if I'm going too fast. Next, you're gonna thicken the base. So down here, you're gonna add a thicker base. Then you're gonna add a little shark fin shape. So down here, let's add a shark fin shape. And then erase. What was that?
You have to erase inside the ring.
Exactly, you do have to erase inside. So I'm gonna go ahead and trace.
Right.
Just because that's what works for me. And then you're gonna take your eraser, you erase this part inside the oval. So you're left with something that looks something like that. Our next step would be to, again, you're gonna erase this again, you're gonna erase this part, the dotted area that they have in the picture. And then this is where you're gonna go ahead and add a beak and an eye. So you wanna go ahead and add your beak. You wanna add your eye. And then add triangle feet. To make it look more like a penguin. So for example, you might want to add some neck details. Funny how we're going to end up adding that circle again in a way. And then you want to add webbed toes because again, well, because penguin feet are not triangle, right? Exactly, they're webbed feet. And I only did 2. I was supposed to do more than that. What am I doing here? As in like 2 little bumps. I was supposed to do at least. I love this. Okay. Okay. So notice this shape, that's what makes them webbed.
Oh, okay.
And then you can go ahead and start coloring things in once you get to that part. You can color this part in. shooting today. Not judging my terrible looking penguin here. Okay. And then don't forget to add details if you can. You can add him on top of that, of an iceberg. Not the best looking iceberg, but hey, okay. And you're pretty much done. Finish that up, but I'm just gonna finish the recording. So I'm just gonna go ahead to this part and then make sure to complete your do now. Submit a picture of your assignment. If you are watching this, but if you are not, then just go ahead and show me your picture, and then make sure to do the do now. Wednesdays and Fridays are my office hours from 2 to 3 p.m.